Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the City of Oakland's K-Top Studios. I'm Christy Johnson-Limon. I am the Deputy Director of Economic and Workforce Development, and I oversee the Business Development Division here at the City of Oakland. I'm so pleased to welcome you to our K-Top Studios, which is the city's public broadcasting organization, and we are live in studio today recording this really amazing program where we're going to get to hear from some of Oakland's small business community. As we know here in Oakland, small business is the heart and soul of our neighborhoods, and they play a critical role in both our economy but also in bringing us together. So today we're going to have an opportunity with the live studio audience made up mostly of city officials and partners and friends who work with the small business community, arts and culture organizations, to truly start to make those connections, to humanize each other, and to support a thriving small business community as part of a thriving Oakland. We're here in partnership actually through the Cultural Strategist in Government program, thanks to the Oakland Fund for Public Innovation. So this program has been in existence for the last couple of years and really aims to build those connections between the arts and culture community, arts and cultural practices, and civic government. And so I wanted to thank our cultural strategist for being here today, Yvette Holtz, and she'll go ahead and introduce our speakers today.
Hey, thank you so much, Christy. It's really been wonderful working together with you and your team to just kind of get an idea of how we can really best create the impact and move the needle as we intend to through the program. The Cultural Strategists in Government program puts innovators and artists and city leaders, cultural leaders, in positions to work with city departments to kind of innovate and introduce new ways to approach pernicious challenges. So OAKTalkX is one of those that we have brought forward. It's a really kind of brainchild of wanting to get real collaborative, experiential information, not just surveys, not just ideas, but actual facts, actual experience. And I'm really happy to be here as part of the Bay Area Organization of Black-Owned Businesses, which is the organization that we founded back in 2015 to really help and encourage folks to understand the importance of diversity and collective economics to create a more fertile landscape for small business in Oakland. And with that, we are bringing forth OAKTalkX to let the businesses share with you from their heart and from their own experience. I want to introduce our first speaker. He is in a different industry segment in Oakland, but also dealing with contracting with the city and also dealing with a brick and mortar situation that I think it'll be interesting to hear about and compare and contrast the experience that he's here to share about. His business is called OakLabs, and OakLabs is run by Weldon Hall. I'm going to let him tell you more about the actual business, but I am super excited to welcome him, and I hope that you all will give him another warm welcome. Thank you. Thanks, Weldon.
Good morning. So my name is Weldon Hall. I'm a scientist, entrepreneur, husband, business partner, social volunteer, and so on. What I also am is I'm the director at OakLabs. It's a laser engraving and digital fabrication shop located here in Uptown Oakland. We do a lot of things, and later on, if you want to ask me, I'll regale you with many stories about all the things that we can't make. But I'm here to talk about the symbiotic relationship between Oakland and the businesses that reside within. When I think of Oakland business community and the interaction with the city itself, I would hope that we all could take care of each other like a family and be able to find ways for us all to thrive together. That's one of the reasons why I first moved to Oakland, and that I thought Oakland was the wonderful place. It just attracted me in such a way. Because I originally grew up in sunny San Diego, and I became best friends with the son of another family in our neighborhood. We were similar in age and did everything together. I'm talking Legos, marbles, soccer, tennis, everything. In that family, there were 3 kids. He was the oldest, and he had 2 younger siblings. His younger sister was awesome, super sweet, wonderful child. She was just, everybody loved her. His younger brother was the middle child. often overlooked, misunderstood, and ignored. I was party to that. I was a young kid. I didn't know any better. I paid my penance. But I was part of that. We tried to ignore him. We tried to run away from him. We didn't want to involve him in any of the things that were going on. That was just the way things happened. But the same thing happened with the adults in the way in which they engaged with him. This still was a middle child, and they focused on their eldest child, who was the stalwart winner, the thoroughbred who's running through the whole race. And then they also focused on their beautiful young sweet daughter, but they still left that middle child alone. And I mean, some of you really know exactly what that's like. Some of you really know what I'm talking about. Well, Oakland is a fertile ground for community growth and development, like a family. And we have a wealth of entrepreneurial-minded individuals that reside here in Oakland. Thus, we have a range of businesses from small to large that need to be nurtured from their nascent stage, and growing businesses that need to be given a chance to soar in their developing stage, as well as established businesses that can be collaborated with in their mature stage. That's where the EWD comes into play. Oakland's EWD was founded with a key focus on attracting new business to Oakland and supporting existing businesses, and has made great strides in recent years. The Neighborhood Business Assistance Program, which was piloted back in 2021, has helped numerous individuals in some of the key ways I'm going to discuss today. However, most of the attention and resources have been directed either at brand new or old and established businesses. And I'm one of those people that are caught in between. I'm in the middle. I'm the middle seat. I'm in the middle child right now, and my business is like that. We who are caught in between need to not be starved. And I personally have been affected and traumatized by my experiences navigating the bureaucratic gauntlet, whether it become from getting contracts or trying to get city services or even just getting clientele. Those things are not easy when you are in the middle of the road business. And it has thoroughly damaged my trust in the system, as there's been a dearth of balance, accountability, and transparency in the past. And in truth, if I had not needed to do research for this event, I'm sure I would have never learned about some of the strides that Oakland has made in recent years. That's not something that is widely publicized or is really even talked about, especially among the business community. There is still the opinion and the feeling that you're just going to get ignored in general. Now, I could fire off a bunch of complaints, list all my woes and everything I've been going through, but I really would prefer to be more constructive during our time together. And it's really possible to be so, because I appreciate the move away from a reactionary and punitive style of governance towards a more proactive and restorative approach. And I think that is the right way that we can move forward. For example, instead of using the regulatory authority of Oakland in order to issue audits and fines, why not use those professional skills to consult and advise from the onset? In an effort to distill the essentials down to some basic topics I'm going to cover that we can cover in our brief time, I'm going to focus on some key points. And those are, I'll go to the next one. Those are 3 C's and 1 F. All right. So I choose verbs because verbs are words of action. So that's why they're simply verbs. So what we can do is we can communicate. And that's the most important thing. The transparency has to happen. We have to be able to communicate with Oakland. Oakland has to be able to communicate with us. And you are the highly informed, consummate professionals regarding the laws, regulations, and performance characteristics for many businesses, from small to large. This means you hold the knowledge and the power to help any business. For example, one of the most important things I learned in my business was I had to have a dynamic scaling of the information delivery based on my client's understandings. When a client comes and asks me for something simple like a wooden sign for their storefront, I could just point them to the large compendiums of elements of graphic design and the wood book and tell them after they do their research, they can get back to me and let me know what they really want. Or, since I see my success directly connected to their success, I can utilize my skills and knowledge to distill those resources down into simple, digestible choices. This could be as simple as having a standard rubric for businesses to check in at varied stages to see if they're meeting the basic needs to do business in or with the city of Oakland, to get contracts, to operate in businesses, any of those things. It takes a two-way street of communication, all the way through getting through iSupplier, like Naftali mentioned. Another thing we could do is cooperate. Find commonly aligned goals that owners, founders, and city administrators can get behind. There's a lot of examples of this, of opportunities for this that were kind of missed. One that I want to focus on is In the early 2000s, this is when I was when I was here in Oakland. The African hair braiding was a big business that started happening in a lot of homes, and one of the problems is that happened actually across the nation. It wasn't just here in Oakland, but what most cities did, instead of actually trying to help those pioneers or those businesses, is that they instead decided to cite them and shut them down for not operating with a proper license. And what they required was you had to have a cosmetology license in order to operate, because that supposedly fell within in that area. However, there were not schools available locally or even geographically, like close, for a person to be able to get that cosmetology license in order to do this. Most cosmetology schools at that time did not actually teach African hair braiding. So if you're making a requirement that someone has some other degree or accolades, but you aren't actually providing a way for them to achieve it, especially locally, that's really difficult. And finally, another good verb is collaborate. This is easy. We can connect small, large, and medium businesses that have successfully navigated the business gauntlet. The business assistance support team could also use the additional backup of well-performing businesses to consult and cover a myriad of obstacles that other small businesses may have to get through in order to get to the next level of success. Then you can utilize those networks in order to engage in city activities or the city agenda. Like, the city has a powerful role to play in this because they can utilize this moment to bridge the efforts and build trust between businesses, individuals, and communities with the city itself. A simple solution is like partnering businesses with more established businesses in order to achieve certain directives. For instance, if I'm going for a contract and there happens to be like 5 different businesses that are going for that exact same contract, the city knows who those 5 people are. They actually know what they are capable of. They know their history. Perhaps you should actually choose, hey, I'm going to take a very established business and have them work with a new business, a nascent business, something that's coming on, so that the new business can actually learn what does it take in order for them to be able to achieve that level that they're really welcomed to be a city contractor, or that they can get the services. That only takes bridging those 2 people together, and it's a low risk, low requirement. That doesn't really require a whole lot. And all we're talking about is trying to collaborate with each other. And the last one is fair play. That's as simple as it sounds. It's the same thing that Naftali was talking about. The reality is we need an up-to-date and streamlined vetting process so that people can understand that they can trust the city, and that the city can trust those people, that the job will get done, and that we can all trust the process. That kind of transparency is what is truly needed. Now, to some, this may seem like too much work, for a city government to take on, for other people to take on, but I want to express one thing really clear in my opinion. I feel it's disingenuous for a city or any entity to want to take pride in supporting small businesses, but be resistant to be proactive in supporting them. And we're all supposed to be working together like a family. And businesses recognize that there have been some transgressions that we haven't gotten from the city, but also the city recognizes there are sometimes businesses aren't working in the best of their ability. But if we actually work together, we can actually achieve a common goal. One of the things that I want to reiterate is, like, in this business world, I'm the middle child. And we have to actually try to work together in order to do it. This is actually a principle, a Kwanzaa principle, the 4th principle of Kwanzaa, which is called Ujama. I'll read it out so you can actually hear it, so it's actually on the recording. It literally means familyhood and suggests a sharing of work and wealth in a manner of a family. And it is essentially a commitment to the practice of shared social wealth and the work necessary to achieve it. My name is Weldon Hall, and I'm happy to take any questions you have, and look forward to talking to you at another time. Thank you.
We have time for a few questions for Weldon, and I just want to again commend you and thank you so much for really thinking through some of the suggestions and recommendations that you feel would positively impact your business and businesses in Oakland in general. I am super excited to kind of follow and see where we can, find opportunities for accountability along those lines. Thank you. Come on over.
Hi, I'm Joanna in Planning and Building. Question for you, Weldon.
Yeah.
That example you gave of the African hair braiding was a really good example of both like city and structural systemic barriers. I'm curious what kind of barriers your business specifically has faced with the city, like where are the areas where you felt like you haven't been heard or where we put up ridiculous barriers or you weren't able to get through. And also, since I'm in planning and building, I'm curious if there's anything in particular in that area. But I'm just curious in general about the city.
I won't have a profundity of examples, but I have one very pertinent. So, like Natalia even referenced before, NICE codes are very important in terms of trying to actually get a contract with the city. What I do, so OakLabs does laser cutting, laser engraving, prototype design. We do small scale manufacturing, all sorts of digital fabrication, whether it be from making vinyl signs, anything that you can cut with a blade or a laser. That's what we do. There aren't NICE codes that actually fit that. Like no matter what I do, I can fit in like some small things, and like I have to go through about like 15 different codes to maybe cobble together something, and like most of the things aren't really even fitting in there. That's where I end up suffering a lot. It's also that trying to get any kind of like work with the city, there are a lot of things that are actually required, not required, but desired by a lot of city workers and office administrators, like say those wonderful name tags or nameplates you guys have on your doors. I make those. I literally can. And there still isn't the reach out for that kind of business. Except I do actually get the reach out when there's emergency services. Like whenever I have had an administrator come to me like, oh, I need this made. They needed it now. I can do that. So I did it, was happy to provide it for them. But the local contracts, no, I don't get those. In terms of like building and planning, it's actually just difficult to find space in Oakland. I mean, that's for everybody. That shouldn't be anything new. I actually worked with a lot of artists that were at American Steel before. As they were getting booted out of there from the development, they were trying to coordinate in order to buy property and buy a warehouse in other places. And that was actually just really difficult. It was difficult mostly because there wasn't a real good pathway in order how to do that. Like we had to figure this out at the time. And it didn't work out as well as it could have. There weren't really other ways for us to finance. So like finding buildings and like working, because my specific case, I need about like 400 square feet in order to have all my equipment and operate, but I expand out to 2,000, 2,500 square feet depending on the size of the job I'm working on. And so I work in co-working spaces because that gives me the flexibility. I can afford it and be able to manage that. It's harder to find in other places unless you are co-working with other people that are in that same kind of field and industry. And that's harder, especially when we're losing a lot of our art spaces here in Oakland.
I really appreciate your coming out and being with us this morning, and I hope that you've found a kernel of something that can help you bring humanity and know that the movements that you make in your day-to-day really do impact real people and real businesses. And we'd love to see that you take this back with you and put it in action. Yeah?
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.